Hello, good morning, welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde. It's another brand new day, Wednesday morning at that.
Yeah.
As some would say, bang in the middle of the week. And to imagine that, such a thing as, these fuel issues, we're still having that.
Again.
I mean, I thought, okay, we have one energy industry, right?
So does it.
We have, of course, petroleum issues and all those things. And then we have electricity. I don't even want to go there today because that's another kettle of fish altogether. But, how do people get electricity? One of the ways in which they get electricity for now is through using fuel, diesel or, petrol, whichever one it is that works for them at any given point in time. Now, to imagine, okay, in Lagos, that happened, and then for whatever reason, it got resolved again. And now we understand, even from talking with people in Abuja, say it's like, it's not abating. And I'm wondering, wait a minute, it just took maybe a day or two in Lagos, and then it was resolved. What's happening in Abuja? Why is it that, because, fuel supply to Abuja, why are you smiling? Fuel supply to Abuja doesn't only affect the city, it affects the adjoining states as well. So I'm just wondering.
I remember asking this question several years ago. I was asking the same question years after.
It's sad, it's painful, and I don't know, Markwe must definitely have something to say about this, because I'm just wondering how in the universe we're
first
still
of all,
there.
FG was insisting on what? 165 naira per litre. That's not happening because in many other cities, even here in Lagos, you see people selling at 180 naira per litre. And then they were saying they were going to sanction those who have erred. And you just ask yourself several questions. You remember they complained that, first of all, NNPC is the sole importer. And so all of the other guys did say, NNPC themselves admit to that. So if they are the sole importer, they're expected to bring in the product, whether through whichever other company, fine. And then if they bring this product, you will expect that they will pump it through their own depot.
Yeah.
In order to ensure that it sells at that 165 of which they're insisting. And if that were the case, then you will not have private depot owners who get this product at a higher price, and they say, look, if we get it at 160 or 180 or 165, we have to add the operational costs, and as such, we cannot sell at 165. So question is, why is it that private depot owners are getting it at a higher price? So is NNPC pumping it through their own depot? If not, why not? And if these prices, if the private depot owners are complaining, what are they doing about that?
Shouldn't
so
we?
they're big questions.
It's a whole chain of activities, Chamberlain. Okay, so we in Lagos buy the fuel, supposedly buy the fuel at 165 naira per litre.
Some places in Lagos.
Okay, I'm just saying supposedly.
Yeah.
Now, the people in Abuja who are going to get the fuel in Abuja through supplies, cargo by NATO, those who move this fuel to different parts of the country are expected to get it at the same price. Who pays for the logistics? The people in Maiduguri are also expected to get the same fuel at the same cost. Who pays this?
That's why there's that bridge.
That's one. Secondly, don't forget that even because we had this conversation with the NATO president last weekend, and the fellow was like, look, what we go through to get fuel across the nation, it's a lot of work. I'm wondering who is, factoring some of those things into, they complain about bad roads, they complain about the fact that to get a tanker, one tanker costs on the average 60 million naira. Now, that's just the equipment. The staffing, the person who is going to drive the vehicle, the welfare of the driver, and so many other things, they have to spend days on the roads to get these things across to different parts of the country. Who is factoring all of that in? Is that why fuel is scarce in certain parts of the country? Who is considering all those things?
And sometimes you just sit back and ask they may sound basic questions, but they're not, because look, this is supposed to be our mainstay, the cash cow of the economy. Why is it that we still are trucking this product? So how come that after all these decades, we're not, if we should have seen results, thinking about perhaps improving piping those products across different parts of the country?
Chamberlain,
I thought it was supposed to be simple.
We had these. Remember the conversation we had with the current governor of Nasarawa State, I think, here, he's saying that there are pipes in the city of Lagos who take fuel from one place to different parts of the country that are no longer, active now. They are latent now. And there are some prominent buildings are standing on them in this city today. You remember that?
Hotels, too.
And hotels. And that was 2 years ago, a year or two ago, when he about became governor of the state. That's still there. Why are we not using it? I think there are many questions, as you have said. The midstream and downstream regulatory commission really does have its job cut out for them. But how much really can they do? Because they have to deal with the public sector operators and private sector operators. It's a whole gamut of
While we're
activities.
grappling with all of this, we also need to remember to ask ourselves the question of the Petroleum Industry Act. There's supposed to be a committee, I think, with the private sector and public sector trying to fine-tune certain areas because investment into that sector is dwindling. We need to ask ourselves, how much investment have we gotten in that sector in the last decade? Angola, the other time on the news, was reported to have overtaken Nigeria as a main producer. They have a structure. They've got a framework, and several investments are being funneled through those other alternative countries. What are we doing? So it's just one of those areas that you just keep asking yourselves, are we really serious about these kind of things? If we are, we should have seen those results. And then we kind of talk about the crude. Several times we're told we're supposed to refine crude here and to see if that will solve our challenges. Where are we with that? We had different timelines and deadlines. We've not met some of those, have we?
I don't know, Chamberlain. And this whole conversation around, fuel subsidies is still lingering. To do or not to do. If we deregulated 100% the entire downstream sector of the oil and gas industry, will our fortunes be any better if this is what we are having now?
I don't know. I keep asking those questions. If the authorities, the government at all levels actually relate to this data. Remember the ones about our population? How we're going to be the third most populous in the world? Not too far from now.
Not too far from now.
How much resources? What are people earning? The earning power is dwindling on a daily basis. Look at idle hands all over the country. What are we doing about that? Well, I guess those are the issues there. Hello, Mark. Bye.
Good morning, Chamberlain and Ayo. I hope you got fuel to buy. In Abuja, it's the more you look, the less you see. That's basically what's happening here.
Oh, boy.
And it was in that now, a lot of citizens are trying to be careful. The question is, how careful can you be when you're getting bad fuel to also buy in the mix?
Wow.
So there are questions as to the quality of the fuel currently being supplied as we speak. I sincerely hope that, because that's where this new round of fuel scarcity started from bad fuel supply. I hope that we're not back there. But while the AMP DRA is going about their jobs, can they just be a little more agile about it? And is it just going to be in Abuja? Is it going to affect, for instance, the environs of Abuja, Nasarawa, for instance, where a lot of citizens live, or will it extend to Niger and all those other places? I don't know, but they seem to be going around inspecting fuel stations. Whether this will bring any reprieve, because on my way to work this morning, the fuel queues were already there. People were queuing up diligently, waiting for the petrol stations to open. For some of them, you could see that there were tankers there. For some, no tankers. But they're quite hopeful that they're going to get the product to buy. That's just how it's been in the last couple of months in the city. It's almost a situation that we're getting used to, and it's such a terrible thing, really.
Yeah, well, that said, let's go ahead and take you through some of the dailies today. All right, take a look at New Telegraph today, 2023 presidential poll. AA cites forgery allegation, moves to halt Tinubu APC's ambition. Wants courts to stop INEC from listing ruling party standard bearer. Another court refuses suit seeking to stop Tinubu Atiku's participation. Orders plaintiff to put defendants on notice. Fixes July 14 for hearing. Ex-Lagos governor certificate controversy unnecessary. Ascribed to Uzodinma. I think I saw somewhere where he says blame INEC for that or something like that. But the ruling party clearly going through some challenge. Well, maybe they will say, okay, it's normal. It's politics. So
it's something that happens.
You expect this in politics.
Yeah, it's something that happens when the stakes are high and it's near election time.
Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown. So, don't forget those senators too that went to the presidency the other day, saying, "Look, we've got some things to settle. We have some things on our chest that we need to get addressed." But
apparently they were 25 because 3 already moved.
Oh, okay. There you go. And then, Senate to probe petition by Supreme Court justices. NJC backs suit seeking review of judges' salaries. Court fixes July 15 for ruling. That is that one that Mr. Sebastian On, SEN, took to the court. So July 15 will be the big day for that one right there. That is New Telegraph this morning.
Leadership newspaper has this on its front page. Aftermath of primaries, save APC from collapse. PMB begs aggrieved senators, others. That speaks to the story you just mentioned. Stories on page 4. Says party must not lose majority status in National Assembly. Leaves for Portugal to attend UN Ocean Conference. We will still amend Electoral Act before 2023 polls. Here we go again. Anyway, stories on page 4. Find the details.
You said there are loopholes there, right? That they want to address.
For God's sake. There were how many people? More than 300 people sat down to look at this law. It went back and forth for quite a number of months, and then the president eventually signs, quote unquote, should we say under duress, and then why don't we just test the laws first, see where...
Yeah. Isn't the part of what was tested with that Supreme Court ruling on Section 8412?
What I mean is use it. Testing is, not testing the law. It's an instrument, it's a vehicle, right? It's supposed to engineer something. Let's use it. If it's defective, then we'll go back to it.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Tester, ball is in your court, man.
All right, well, right above that one, that blue strip. 8 years after, Jonathan seeks implementation of Confab 2014 Confab report. Definitely a big talking point there. Stories on page 7. And a number of other stories you will find quite interesting. Matawale signs anti-banditry, kidnapping, cattle rustling bill. Is that one bill or 3 bills? Find the story, the details of it on page 6 of the Leadership newspaper today. Wow. Markwe.
Well, let's take a look at the Vanguard for you this morning. And they have this, ex-CJN must be probed in judiciary's interest. That's attributed to the Senate. I'm embarrassed as a lawyer, says Omoagege, adds, there's no reason judiciary should lack financially. His resignation akin to vote of no confidence, that's from Fashanu. He should be thoroughly investigated by NJC, that's from Adeniro and Kakol. Page 5 will give you details. So it looks like sleeping dogs are trying to lie, but maybe some people are trying to wake them up. I don't know. Page 5 will, shed a little more light on that. Self-defense reps ask federal government to send troops to Zamfara. Why we directed citizens to acquire guns. That's from Matawale. He's explaining there. Page 7 might give you a little more insight. Why I couldn't implement recommendation of 2014 Confab report. That's attributed to former President Goodluck Jonathan. He was represented at an event yesterday by former SG of Pius Ayim, and he was explaining in that statement why he couldn't implement the recommendation of the 2014 Confab report. 2023, we're unaware of fresh suit to stop Tinubu, that's from Ogala. Tinubu certificate, a non-issue. That's from Uzodimma. They have a number of stories also at the bottom there. NNPC GMD blames fuel scarcity, hike in diesel price on moribund refineries. Okay, page 35 is where you get the full explanation if you're interested in it. Yeah, because I know that what a lot of people are interested in is the fuel. Can we just get the fuel, please? Okocha, most skillful player ever to play football. That's from Eguavon, followed by Ronaldinho. Okay, so when you find a fellow teammate, complimenting another teammate, you know that perhaps there's something there. You might want to take a second look at that. It's a lead story there on Vanguard Sports. Lukaku arrives back in Italy. Okagbari's ban extended. Robs Team Nigeria of World Athletics Championship relay sport. Wow. And Venus Williams to make a shock Wimbledon return. So never out until they're fully out. Let's leave it there for Vanguard newspapers.
Wow, I'd like to see that. And even about those refineries, New Telegraph even reported that the NNPC GMD says no refinery is working in the country at the moment, and that over 200 illegal refineries are in operation. So you know what nature says about vacuum. If you don't do this, this other one works. So have you even bothered to ask yourself, did they actually stop those major ones from working in order for these other ones to keep going on? Just a thought.
So how are those ones working? How are
the illegal
they
ones?
working? The
200
ones.
of them.
How are they working? I mean, go to Niger Delta, pockets of areas in Niger Delta, people will say these things happen every day. How are they working? Is it possible to harvest their brains?
If 200 are in operation, it means they're in business. So it means of course there's a market. Take a look at The Guardian next. That's the next one here. They have something entirely different from previous ones. Nigeria risks financial blockade, frosty relations with funders. World Bank calls for sovereign debt changes ahead of looming recession. Cold attitude to reforms harming domestic investment outlook, experts say. Challenge Western countries, but with better policy options. Nigeria's Eurobond rises by about 100% in 6 months. You know, in about 6, 7, or 8 or 9 months, what can be achieved policy-wise? You wonder, especially now that we're heading towards general election year. So it remains to be seen.
I don't know. Let me just leave it there. Daily Independent this morning has this report that we've mentioned in a number of other papers, front page of other papers. It's time to implement 2014 confab reports ascribed to former President Jonathan. You know, that only raises one question about how many confabs have we had that we never implemented their reports?
Yeah, but will this government implement it at this point in time? Remember what their view is about it in the first place.
Yeah.
Did they attend it in the first instance?
Don't forget that there's a prominent lexicon in our politics today, the 6 geopolitical zones. It's a product, it's a minority suggestion in 1995. And that's a confab as well. Or even that minority recommendation or whatever it is hasn't made it into the constitution, but we use it for political whatever.
Yeah, they pick and choose. If they favor certain things, they use it. So that's what happens these days.
That's the lead story of the paper this morning. And right under the picture on the front page, FG stops award of marginal oil fields, insists oil fields assets to be governed by provisions of PIA.
Same PIA.
Same PIA. I was just going to say, you mentioned it the other time, and there are so many things. I'm still waiting and hoping that we don't have issues with the host community ambit of that law, because now we can just get ahead of it. There are so many things that we can do to make. I thought we had that this law was supposed to be uhuru for the sector and for the country.
Well, clearly not, because there are standing issues that they need to reconcile and address. But it appears as though those who are saddled with that responsibility may be caught up fighting, for territories, protecting territories, as opposed to addressing what those issues are, because we need to attract investment in that sector quicker than anything else. In fact, like yesterday, but are we doing that?
Let's take this one still in that sector. Why diesel, cooking gas are costly by NNPC boss. Just in case you're wondering, stories on page 6 of the Daily Independent today.
Well, the Daily Times is next, and they focus wholly on politics. And the big one on the front page of Daily Times today says, APC will heal before 2023 polls. Buhari says ruling party leadership currently addressing outcomes of recent primaries. So that's for you there. And then they also have this bit, alleged forgery. AA asks court to stop INEC from listing APC Tinubu in 2023 poll. Yeah. You know, it's we've seen this before, haven't we? Previous elections, but perhaps could it be in that same spirit which you highlighted about what? Testing the laws, testing some policies. Who knows?
But that's not to say that there aren't very good ones that we have ignored over time. Let me go there now. Nigeria News Direct has this one, completely different from most stories. Prison congestion. FG proposes maximum 12-month trial period. FG is proposing. You remember, the conversation we had with the legal silk yesterday, and it was talking about, clearing the backlog of cases. This, falls within that all ambit as well. Anyway, that's what you have on the front page. Lead
I think I said about 70% of ATMs are about 80% or thereabout of those in prison are awaiting trial.
Yes. That fact has been on for many, many years, and it's not something that is unknown to us. And we've had all kinds of suggestions. Chimberley, I think it was about last year or year before, we had this conversation here about suggestions coming from legal practitioners as well as to how we can engage some, is it casual law, judges or something like that. Look, you can contract people to, judge cases that are not so serious and all of those things. So these things can be done. Question is, why are we holding? Anyway, let's just wait, see what the CJN and his team, will come up with. Right above the nameplate, and this one is rather interesting. Landlords risk 15-year jail term for renting house to Yahoo boys. That's ascribed to EFCC.
How's that going to work?
Well, maybe
Are they enforceable?
Maybe the story is on page.
People can go rogue, remember?
Yeah.
You can be good and then you turn bad. So what? They're expected to begin to monitor their the tenants? Oh, come on.
Are you even supposed to go into the homes, into the houses of your tenants? How will you know the kind of life? I don't know. We'll just have to wait.
I think they have to be a little more realistic with some of these things, because so that they don't make themselves a laughing stock in terms of some of these things. Yes, we know we have a challenge we need to address, but we need to be realistic with ourselves in terms of how some of these things can work.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned the NNPC GMD the other time. Well, there's a story credited to him here. Fuel scarcity, non-functional refineries, Russia-Ukraine war, COVID-19 pandemic, root cause of fuel crisis. That story is on page 3 of the Nigerian News Direct today.
Okay, there you go. That wraps it up with a look at some of the dailies here this morning. Okay, I think it does, doesn't it? All right, we'll go to break. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
22 senators of the All Progressives Congress have gathered at the council chamber to meet with President Muhammadu Buhari shortly before his official trip to Portugal. The chief whip of the Senate, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, led some of his APC colleagues who are aggrieved and felt disenfranchised following the outcome of the last concluded party primaries in their states. In a statement released by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, the Chief Whip of the Senate, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, says the senators want the President to intervene. The President, who is not oblivious of their concerns, quickly assures that the healing process has commenced, while noting the far-reaching consequence their continued actions might bring.
The cost to the nation, the threat to the majority position held by our party in the legislative chambers, and likely consequent costs to the electoral fortunes of our party as we approach the general elections. We must not allow these dire threats to come to pass.
President Buhari equally illuminates the importance of justice at a time the party seeks all-inclusivity.
If justice is denied, its outcome is usually unpleasant. This is because you, the members, keep the party running. I urge you and all party members to exercise restraint and continue to demonstrate commitment to the ideals while we continue to build and develop the party and the country.
Now, if the assurances of the president are anything to go by, then Nigerians might begin to see greater levels of integration within the party, which is quite critical at this time ahead of the 2023 general elections. Well, earlier in the day, the president met separately with the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, in his office.
Thank you.
After that meeting, Governor Hope Uzodinma gave reactions to the recent order by his counterpart, the governor of Zamfara State, on gun licensing.
The governor, if he called for individuals to apply for licenses, I think government will only give license to a qualified and eligible candidate. I don't think that the security situation is beyond our security services.
By the same token, he asked Nigerians not to be perturbed about the certificate saga surrounding the APC's presidential flag bearer.
Be rest assured that we will fill a complete ticket for the presidential contest.
According to the governor, the president has approved the hosting of Army Day in Imo State, a move he believes will strengthen the security situation in the region. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Well, we're focusing on the first part of that report, the part where the chief whip of the Senate led 22 senators to the president, 22 aggrieved senators to the president's office to talk about how dissatisfied they are and perhaps to seek a way forward. Well, we have one of the senators, he'll tell me if he's aggrieved or not. Senator Dr. Ibrahim Yahya Oloriegbe is with us this morning. He's representing Kwara Central Senatorial District and is also the current chairman of the Senate Committee on Health. Distinguished, you're welcome to Sunrise City this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So what exactly was the purpose of that visit? What exactly were you hoping to achieve? Because some people will say the primaries are over. This is almost akin to crying over spilled milk. What precisely are you hoping the president will be able to do in this situation?
Oh, thank you very much. The president is the overall leader of the party and, of course, the father of the nation. And the primary, yes, is being conducted in one way or the other. The senators that went to the president, I wouldn't say we are aggrieved again. I think we are progressive and concerned about the fate of our party because of the way the primaries were handled in many states. It didn't follow democratic processes. I could say in many states where we have governors, we are running what we call a governotocracy, where the governors we just decide what could happen. The primary process ought to start with the election of delegates. In almost everywhere, there was no proper election of delegates. Delegates were selected by the governors or by some individuals where there are no governors in the party. The delegate election process ought to be just like the primary, where delegates obtain forms, where there will be proper congresses. There was no congress, particularly like in my state. The governor just one night, they said, oh, we have done the primaries, and the list came. You don't even know who the delegates are. They change it at will. And this happened in several states. Now, that's one thing. Even where people are selected, people should be given their free conscience to exercise their franchise by voting for who they want. It is not like that. First, in the selection, like in my state, I give an example, and in several states, most of my colleagues also share the same thing. The governors select those that they will give instruction, and some of them take oath to say, it's where the governor says you should vote, you vote. They were directed to vote for particular candidate, and I swear by my God, this is what happened in Kwara State. This is what happened from House of Assembly. In fact, it was funny in one of the House of Assembly in my state, by constituency where I came from, the delegates were initially directed to vote for one male candidate. Then when they got to the hall, they said, no, we have changed it. It is not that person, it will be this woman. In House of Rep that followed, it was forced. The governor had to call one of his aides to say, withdraw. If you don't withdraw, then that means you want to disgrace me. In my own election, the Senate, the governor directed. This is the fact. If it's not, let him come, not through any aides, to say I didn't direct and swear by who that I did not direct vote for a particular person. 17 delegates came back to give me money, which I gave them for logistics. Others did not, because they said we wanted to vote for you, but we are not allowed to vote. This happens. I mean, there was one of my colleagues from Kogi also mentioned that people came back. So in several of the states, this is what happened across the board. Where there's a democratic, transparent process, there will be no complaint. You can imagine we have 68 senators before the primaries in Senate. 30 seats are vacant. Out of these 68, only 28 can have ticket to be able to come back. That is not
28.
28 out of 68. If we look at it like that, if we have a party in government, just like the president said, we are building the party, we are building government, we are building democracy. It takes resources of the country to train senators, for them to have the experience to be able to deliver. At the end of the day, who suffers? What suffers? Is the country. Is it democracy? That's not the democracy we are copying. If you think from America, you see how senators serve. And it's not about performance. I'll give myself as an example from Kwara, where I come from, and nationally it can be assessed. I've performed, to God be the glory, incredibly well. The people wanted me, but the governor did not want it. This is what happens in some of our colleagues. Not everybody seeks for Senate. Some of them seek for other positions like governorship. About 11 of our colleagues seek for governorship. Only 4 got a ticket. But in some places, there was no transparent, open, democratic process. This is why the complaint is there. And as you see, when you talk about Aggrieved, it means, why are we meeting the president? Why are we meeting the party stakeholder? We believe in the ideals of the party, and we believe in what APC stands for. I believe in APC. I was one of the leading person in the autogate struggle we had in Kwara State. I believe strongly in that philosophy and what we stand for. But I wouldn't tolerate what is happening now, where we have mediocres just running the show and coming up. Serving is not only being in the Senate. I've served this country as a medical doctor within other aims. But if I will not be allowed to serve, it should be for a reason. The people are crying that this person has performed, this person has done well. Why, I call, and I'm on television now. I challenge my governor to come and meet me. And one thing again, why are we meeting the president? That's for somebody like me. It's up to 1 month now. My governor had not called. He has not called for a meeting with me or with any other person, with me, to say, this is what happened. Can we reconcile? Nobody in Kwara, in the APC, has called me. So that is why we have to come to the national to be able to say, look, we can't allow this party to go like this. So we met the president to discuss. And as you see reported, we have agreed we will save the party. We will reconcile. But it must be, just like the president said, on a transparent process.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about why a number of people are, because 40 is actually, even within the APC alone, this is not just, the entire 109, from the 109 senators who are currently serving. If 40 are not coming back within a party, you've explained that some of them have gone for a governorship position. There's some who are also affected by rotation. According to some constituencies or some areas, they usually zone it amongst maybe local governments, etc. And that's usually what affects them. I don't know if any one of your senators was affected by that.
Some may. In fact, in my own, it was one of the factors that the governor was trying to raise. We never had in my place anything like rotation because we are a monolithic society. We have 4 local governments, but there are claims that, oh, you should go to these places. But even if it will be, you have an option of doing a second term, then it can be started. There may be some that are affected. But there's one thing I want to narrate also, which is the issue. A party is an institution. Where there are issues like that, the party ought to set up a mechanism to be able to resolve, to be able to agree. Where there are rotations and they are told there will be rotation, it ought to have been discussed pre-primary and say this is what will happen, not to leave things open and say, oh, everybody go obtain form. 2, where it has happened, mechanism should be set up for discussions to hold. It is because this is not happening, that is why you saw people. As we stand, 7 APC senators, they come to other parties. 4 to PDP, 3 to 8, actually, because 3 to NNPP. 1 is here to state where it's going. Why is this happening? It's because the conflict management mechanism has not been effectively being in place. And this is one of the reasons why we made the president, to put this in place so that we can save the party.
Some people will say, shouldn't you be meeting with the with the chairman of your party?
We did have a meeting with the chairman of the party in the Senate. He did come to the Senate. But the members were not satisfied with the chairman's response. The chairman said he accepted responsibility, he would look at it, but there are no concrete ideas put on ground or steps to say this is how I will address it. This is why we met the president. We also met the presidential candidate anyway. Before that, and the presidential candidate spoke very well. That is the national leader of the party, Ansaru Ahmed Tinubu. He also met some of us and is meeting the larger group. So you can, if the party itself, because the party is also, I would say, the party leadership at the national level, they are part of the system because they handed over the party, so to say, to the governors to do as they would like. That's why the governors pick their successors, they pick whoever they want to be the Senate in the House of Rep. That's why you see it larger being like that.
We understand that that was a policy of the party. If we were to go by a statement that the president himself read to governors before the primaries, according to what we read in that statement, it was a policy of the party to allow governors pick their successors or for them to get second-term tickets, assuming they were to come back. It was deliberately done by the party, according to that particular statement. But what I wanted to bring out is the fact that it was seen that senators and, in general, legislators saw this coming. With the Electoral Act, they tried to cure that particular problem by putting just direct primaries as the only way that, people, members of a party will be able to choose a candidate of their party for whatever elective positions. The president stalled on that and, sent it back asking legislators to include other forms of democracy because, according to him, it was too restrictive. So if this problem has happened now, do you also hold him responsible for the current situation within your party?
Well, not necessarily, Leon, because the indirect primary that was put in place, the legislature put certain caveats, which include democratic election of the delegates. That was not what happened. That's why you have this. And going back to the issue of the governors are allowed to choose their successors and so on. As leaders of the party, when you are given leadership, it's a trust. And you must discharge this trust with all sense of responsibility, transparency, and what I would say with what we call a mechanism that allow for peace But where it is done without such processes, that's why you have what is happening. I won't blame the president. The essential thing why you don't blame the president is because there's possibility of consensus also happening, where there's open dialogue, discussions, and it's agreed that, oh, for these reasons, this will have to happen. You can do this, you can do this. It should be like that in an institution, in a party system. Even in the advanced democracy, that can happen. So I wouldn't blame the president. I would blame, it's not the law that's at fault here. It is the operators of the law. It is the way it's been implemented that is giving the problem for the party. And as you see, it's not for the party alone, it's the country. Because to me, as a member serving the legislature, it is Nigeria that will suffer with the high rate of attrition we have in the legislature. Legislative work and legislative processes, it's not just something you buy in the market or you learn in a day. It takes a while. And the more experienced legislator you have, the better in terms of the quality of legislations, not only lawmaking, in terms of how do you oversight, how do you understand the process, even in terms of representation, how do you think through what is the appropriate thing to do for your constituents and your constituency.
Let me flip this to Lagos now, because I know my colleagues have questions for you. Gentlemen.
Yeah, good morning, Senator. You know, one wonders, now with this lack of internal democracy in political parties, some of which you've highlighted, and having met the president, what kind of resolution would you be looking to have now? Because some would like to return or get their ticket. Can that actually happen?
There are various options that are on ground, which the president, through some processes, and the parties, the party leadership are looking through. Yes, it could be possible. There will be a review. You can hear the president say justice will be done appropriately. So part of justice will be to look. And as parties, there are always options, because there is still a window of opportunities for party to substitute, depending, between now and August. The Electoral Act allows that. There will be also, it's about inclusiveness again. There will be some other ways through which individuals will be taken care of within the system of the party. But the key important thing, which my colleagues, including me, are talking about, is about that recognition. It's about inclusiveness. It's about the fact that you should be counted as being a major stakeholder. The governors are not the only stakeholders in the party. There are several other stakeholders, including the Senate, the House of Representatives, even some leaders who are in various constituencies. All these people are not carried along in this decision-making. That's why we have it. So this is the resolutions that we are looking forward to, and that is being put in place by the president, the presidential candidate of the party, as well as the leadership of the party at the national level.
Well, we've had several other Nigerians who came back from the diaspora to contest elections in the country, and some of them say that they actually won their own elections, but the powers that be said, well, no, this person did not want you as their candidate, so they swapped those kind of people's names. So how is this going to work? Is it just going to be for senators or for all the other persons who are aggrieved? Do they call everyone to come forward if you have an issue, or what?
Well, I think it will be across board. It's not only for senators. Senators are only leading because, as you know, as I will say, in terms of the hierarchy of legislation from House of Assembly, House of Reps, senators, that's why senators are distinguished, because there are only 1 or 9 at any particular time. So the senators are not fighting for themselves alone. They are fighting for the entire system. It will be across board.
So, you know, something you said the other time about the governor's roles, how influential they are and all, only raises one question on my mind. How the legislators, whether at the federal or state levels, relate or interface with the governor in the interest of the state. That, you know, ambit I'd like you to speak to. You said just a while ago that, you know, your governor hadn't called you, and perhaps that's the experience of a good number of legislators such as yourself. So I'm wondering, what is missing in that conversation, given that both the governors and the legislators at federal or state levels, they represent the people of the state. So at what point do you think the handshake has become so weak that governors and the legislators, in a loose sense, don't see eye to eye?
I think I will give myself as an example. Iteto, up to 48 hours before my primary, I'm on the same page with my governor. We relate, we link very well. And this, I'm saying publicly, everybody in Kwara will be able to attest to this. So I would say it's like, for example, my own governor's action, I would term it to be a treacherous action. Because for somebody that we have been relating together, we discuss the issue of the state, the governance of the state, the party. There's no program I do that I don't inform, I don't tell him. We come together. The three of us are senators with him, and even with majority members of the House of Rep. So it's only at the point of this election where the governor just decided, just 48 hours. We met on Thursday. Our primary was on Saturday. On that Thursday, I was at the governor's affirmation because he was the only candidate. That day also we had our assembly. So I'm talking about peculiar things. There was one of my colleagues, specifically from Jigawa, who told me up to the 11 p.m. on the day of the primaries, he was still communicating. Only after the 11 p.m., the governor switched off his phone and left the state and traveled out. So because he wanted to do something differently. So just like I said, it's about individuals. It's about people having credibility. It's about people being straightforward about things, not to betray trust, not to be treacherous about actions. That's what I'm talking. It's about leadership. It calls to action. I'm a student of leadership, and I understand the process. There's no issues that cannot be discussed. To me, all these issues, if they had been roundtable across the state, as leaders, saying it's only one seat for a particular position, and it's only one person that will be there. I've been in the politics since 1996, and I participated in 2003. I was very active in my state. We will come together at a roundtable and say, okay, this particular seat, there are 10 or so people looking for it. How do we analyze? Okay, you could go for something else. You could go for something else. This is what we will do. This is why we have to be like this. You dialogue. Through that, you have a seamless process. But I don't see this happening. This is what I'm talking about. Like in my state, in some constituencies for assembly, you saw 10, 15 people obtaining form. I told the governor, this should not happen. Let's come around together, discuss it. But you say, oh, let's leave. But because as they said in my Yoruba, when you don't go to court and come back to be friends. But if you dialogue, you can easily come together. It's lack of that dialogue in many places that you see these grievances coming up.
Well, Senator...
So it's not as if there is disconnect in some places there may be, but particularly in some states, it's only about when it comes to this election. It's because people are not transparent, people are not applying the principle of inclusive leadership. Because leadership includes how do you manage people.
Well, Senator, one of the issues that also comes to mind as you spoke, and which has been an issue for me, is something that you said the other time, that, the president is the leader of the party. And if the president is the leader of the party at the national level, it presupposes that the governor, who, if the governor is in a particular ruling party, is the leader of the party in that state. So it just raises a question in my own mind about the role of the party structure itself. If the executive head of government is also the leader of the party, where lies the function of the chairman of the party? Gratifying that you said you've been in politics since 1996. Of course, you knew what happened in the Third Republic, the botched Third Republic, where the national chairman of the party monitored the activities of elected officials of the party. How come that kind of thing is not happening now, such that it's the person who is supposed to face governance that is also facing politics? Isn't that part of the reason why this problem, that the aggrieved senators are raising is rising?
I think it is, and I want to say publicly that we discuss this as senators. It's part of the nonsense in our democracy. It's because there are no effective membership contribution to build party in Nigeria. And I think this started, even not now, it started since the beginning of this Fourth Republic. Because where members have become effective financial contributor to parties, where members are able to democratically elect the leadership of even the party itself, then that influence will be diminished. I do see it is because in terms of funding of the party, the head of executive contribute more than any other stakeholders in the party. This is why that comes on board. So it's a national issue. It's not only in the APC, it's across, even in the PDP, with all the major parties, even in other parties that are smaller where they have governor. This do happen. The cure to that will be to ensure that individual members of parties contribute and they have equal right, equal say in terms of what happened in the parties. We need to get it, and it's part of what we are discussing. And I think it's part of what we want to look at in the Electoral Act. The Senate yesterday, as you may recall, members are trying to say we bring back the Electoral Act to look at how to strengthen the process. So I think as we go along, we have to strengthen it and get the party to belong to the member. The Speaker of the House of Reps has mentioned it one time. That's why we are talking about direct primary, that if democracy is actually government of the people, by the people, for the people should own the party, not the leaders across board anywhere.
Well, that actually feeds into this next question, because this is a big question mark on our leadership recruitment process in terms of ensuring that people who have something to offer the country are the ones who are presented by the political parties. Because if this is quote-unquote resolved today, what stops the governor tomorrow, or new governor, from doing the same thing? But now that you say that they're going to look into those laws, do we expect that perhaps before or within this window, 6-7 months window, that the Assembly will come through with that amendment such that there'll be a proper structure put in place where people will have equal rights with several other persons?
I should think so. The discussions, there are two views. One is to do it immediately now. There's another one which says, can we go through all this org and see what the experience is with this current Electoral Act and allow the next, that is the incoming Parliament, the 10th Assembly, to now harness all the experiences that have been garnered. Because like any other man-made laws, there are always sometimes where you see flaws, and you only know this after you have experimented it. Because there are issues also. This is the first time we're experiencing a long period between when candidates are selected or elected rather, and the election will come. It's a very new experience. We have to see what happens. We have to see it in terms of the cost, how does it affect governance? Because so to say now, from September when campaign will start, will people be able to face governance? Will the system not suffer? So we have to look at all this. And that is the opinion of the Senate President yesterday when he was commenting when the former majority leader raised the issue of, now let's look at the Electoral Act. And he was saying, let us go through this process. And I remember an informal discussion we've had before to say, we really need to test this new law. Let's see what are, because there are flaws now already being seen with all this issue of delegate election. We have to look, how do we strengthen it to ensure really that is democracy actually happen? How do we strengthen the party system itself? Because there must be a way through which we set a mechanism where you monitor, the system should be able to monitor membership drive, membership contribution to political parties. So it may be, just straight to your question, it is most likely to be after this dispensation before the Electoral Act will be looked at in its entirety, instead of the piecemeal or knee-jerk actions to say, let us review it or amend it now.
I'm curious. I mean, the Senate President was not a part of that delegation to the President yesterday. There's still questions as to whether or not he got his own ticket back. Did he?
Well, that one I won't want to comment because I'm not in the party. I don't know who the party submitted as candidate or not. But while he was not there, is because if you know about legislature, the chief whip, part of his action is to whip members, is to ensure that members toe or follow party line. Ideally, the person should probably do that should be the majority leader also. But as we speak, in APC, the majority leader of the party has defected to PDP. So that's why the chief whip stepped in. Because after the terms of the hierarchy, the Senate President officially ought to be bipartisan because he leads the entire Senate. Yeah. So, but party matters.
But he has his own grievances as well. I mean,
I think that one is not reflected, and I don't know how that has been resolved or not. So I'm not in the right position to be able to speak on that. I think he may be asked about that. What is the situation?
Are you still a member of the APC?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I believe in APC. I believe in the tenet of APC.
So what exactly are you hoping will happen now? Because as we speak, you're still saying that Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak has not called you yet.
Yes.
You've accused him of treachery.
Yes, I did. I'm doing that.
I'm just clarifying that that's what you've done. And you met with the president. What exactly are the concretes that you were able to take out of that meeting? What is reassuring you as a party member that perhaps you've been listened to and something is going to be done about it? If I didn't ask you, what precisely do you want to be done about it?
I think what will be done will be through dialogue, and I wouldn't want to discuss precisely what that would be because it's not resolved yet. It's a process. I mean, the president set up some mechanism through which this will be resolved. And since its issues still being discussed will be resolved, I hope that it will be resolved in the best interest of the party, but more importantly, in the best interest of the people. Because just like, I think somebody that said it, a political party should present candidates that will serve better. Because like with all sense of humility and responsibility, I say it openly, my performance can be assessed. Is reward for good, for good work for performance, rejection? Is it replacement? This is the answer that the governor needs to answer and anybody. So the process, when you say what am I expecting? My expectation is justice and fairness, just like the president said. And justice and fairness have several dimensions. Whatever dimension it will be through the dialogue and the discussions that will happen. Part of the reason why we are complaining why we went to the president is because there's nothing that has been set up. Like for me in my state, nobody. It's 1 month now. Does it mean I don't matter? I'm not just a novice in politics, and I'm nobody. I represent people. I'm still serving my people. I didn't allow that to matter to me. I continue to serve in the Senate. I presented a report last week. In fact, today I have matters before the Senate which I'll be attending to, and I continue to serve my constituents and my constituency. So I'm a member of APC. I believe in the tenet of APC, and I believe in serving the people.
I just want to quickly take up on a little matter with you. You talked about how some would-be delegates returned monies to you. And some people have complained. I mean, there's anything that we heard about a lot in this primaries. It was the role that money played, even though, I mean, as a journalist, I attended a lot of the conventions, but I hardly saw anything. But we heard. And we also saw delegates who went back to their constituencies to say this was how much I got. And, you know, I'm giving it back to my constituency or my society, as the case might be. We heard those kinds of stories. Now, I'm wondering, given just what happened to you and what you have also said here, are you also bothered about the role that money continues to play in our politics?
Yes, I'm bothered because it shouldn't be. It should be. That's part of what I'm talking about when you have a strong party. Logistics for example, in my constituency, we have rural areas. We have people that have to travel to the state capital to do senatorial election, for example. People have to travel. To do gubernatorial, people have to travel. To do presidential. So who pays for this logistics? It should be the party, but the party is not buoyant enough. So in one way or the other, candidates have to facilitate transport, feeding, accommodation for delegates before
How
that.
is it that
that is the one that I know about.
The party is not buoyant, but members of the party are buoyant enough to
I think that boils down to organization.
Yes.
Because when you say the party is not buoyant, it's because there are no contributory system in our party system into the party by members. Once we have that, then it will be. But more importantly, I think it's also more about educating the people to know their rights and to be able to know that the choice they are making is about the choice of who serves. It's not about the individual. It's not the one day. So this brings the question for us to debate as a country. Which method is better? It should be the direct system. In direct system, you don't have to travel or do the logistics. You vote in your ward. And if that is it, then there will be no need to be able to talk about money playing any role because all these logistics will not be there. So these are the debates that I think we have to have. You know, the Parliament, the National Assembly initially wanted only direct because we felt that is where there's people's participation. Once you have delegate, but again, delegate is not as bad if it is democratically done, where there's a Congress and somebody, because Where I am now, it's like a delegate system also. If you're a senator, you're a rep, I'm being delegated by the people to represent their views. My constituents has about a voting population of close to 1 million or so, or more, about 1.5 million now. So I'm representing 1.5 million people. I'm delegated by those 1.5 million to speak for them at the Senate to represent them. That's delegate. And I carry that body. It's the same thing with the delegate system for the party. The only thing is the way it is being used now. That is the issue.
Well, we'll see how matters are resolved in the coming days. He says what he's seeking is fairness and justice, and he says it has many dimensions which he's not willing to disclose here, but I'm sure when eventually it is resolved, you let us know. We've been speaking with Senator Dr. Ibrahim Yaya Olori-Egbe, who is representing Kwara Central Senatorial District and is the current chairman, Senate Committee on Health. Thank you once again for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
We'll take a break now. We'll be back to look at what exactly is happening in Kaduna. We understand that a group of terrorists are asking people not to participate in the political process. How is that going to pan out? In just a moment, please stay with us.
An incident, one too many, begging for answers as to why these attacks continue, worsening the ugly condition being experienced by 3 communities in Kajuru local government area of Kaduna State. On Sunday, bandits brazenly attacked 3 communities of Ngwan Fada, Ngwan Turawa, and Ngwan Makama, all in Kufana district, including 2 worship centers. In the process, 3 people were killed, while 36 persons were abducted, leaving behind a deserted community.
They came on bike, and there were a lot of them on bike that came to that particular place. So when they came, some of them were shooting, and some were trying to put the people together so that they should be able to take them to. When they discovered that their bike will not be sufficient to take those that they have kidnapped, they decided to snatch some bikes from the villagers again, about 10 bikes, or more than 10. They used the same bike again and packed those people that were being kidnapped with them. And to those that tried to repel the attacks, most especially the men, they got killed.
A troubling situation that informs this visit by the authorities led by the Commissioner for Internal Security and the Commissioner of Police. At this meeting, the chairman of Kajuru local government area suggests some measures to aid security in the area.
We are lacking access road, of which, if there's anything, our security agents can always reach out immediately.
This emergency meeting, according to state officials, is to build confidence and synergy towards finding a lasting solution to the lingering security problem.
We need your cooperation. Security issue is not one-way traffic. It is a two-way traffic thing. We need to come together. We need to understand ourselves. We need to be communicating. And we need to appreciate the sacrifices of our security agencies.
In the next couple of days, the area commander will be around here. I will send him here to interface with you people on how best to even take our security to the next level.
It is clear from this interaction with the locals here that condolences and assurances are no longer enough. But what is needed is urgent action by putting more boots on the ground, especially in vulnerable communities, and ensuring that the perpetrators of these crimes are punished.
Well, 2 days ago, we heard a security report that Ansaru terrorists who had taken over parts of the Beningwari forest, had now started attacking people and preventing them from participating in the political process. But that report you saw there was also put together by a correspondent in Kaduna State, Chimezie, who went round to see what was happening in those in those communities where the Commissioner for Internal Security had also visited. And you could see that, beyond preventing people from also participating in political processes, they were also, preventing them from actually carrying out their everyday life duties. For instance, even going to their worship centers, preventing them from worshiping. So there are questions as to what exactly is happening. Why is this particular part of Kaduna State, the Beningwari area, particularly problematic? And what can be done in this, not just in this season, because people have to leave first before they can participate in politics. What are the solutions being proffered? And those are some of the questions you're going to be asking this morning. We're being joined by Zuberi Abdurrauf, who is a community leader in Beningwari in Kaduna State. You're welcome to Sunrise Early this morning.
Morning.
You're back once more.
Yeah.
He's the former managing director and CEO of the Kaduna State Media Corporation, KSMC, Radio TV, and he served between the years 2002 to 2008. And Honorable Gabriel Saleh Zok is representing Kachia Kagarko Federal Constituency in Kaduna State and is also a member of the APC. Honorable, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily as well.
Thank you so much.
Let me start by asking you, because this is where you come from, and I'm sure that these reports must truly disturb you. What exactly is happening within your constituency? What reports have you received?
Well, it is certain the security problem in Nigeria as a whole is getting worse by the day. Our communities are no longer safe. Our people are moving out of their own community to the township of Kachia and other township of Katari axis. Katari is is under my own constituency. Few months ago, they attacked the train station in Katari, which is under my constituency, and a lot of people were being kidnapped.
Yeah. And killed. Some were killed.
A lot have been killed, and a lot are still under the custody of the bandit. On Sunday, I had a meeting with my traditional rulers, and where they came to inform me about a lot of people have left their villages to the IDPs of Katari town. And the same, I also received information from the district head of Kachia local government, where one of my supporter was in his own shop doing his business. And unknown gunmen came and they killed them last week, where a lot of villages have also moved to the Kachia town for IDPs. And you see, we cannot do enough. Even if the government have written to NEMA to provide materials where they can solve the problem of food for these IDPs, until today we've not received. These people are hungry. They can't go to their farms. They cannot go to their houses, and they don't have mattresses to sleep. They are sleeping on the floor. This thing is making life miserable for my people. And it's certain, as a leader, you have seen all these things. We've raised a lot of motions in national assemblies. We've come out with a resolution, and the security agencies are not doing anything. So it's so certain that that this thing is happening to a fellow Nigeria, where the purpose of leadership is to provide security and to make sure life and property of every citizen of Nigeria is being protected. But with the case of the security agencies, they are not doing enough, and it's affecting us, the leaders of those communities and of those constituencies.
From what you know, let me ask you, Mr. Abdurrauf, what exactly is the source of this conflict? I mean, what exactly is making people just pick a gun. I mean, we also heard in same Kaduna, I don't know if it's the same area, a priest was also murdered over the weekend on his farm. What exactly is the source of the conflict, if there is a conflict at all, that is making people just come and murder people, kidnap people, senselessly?
Well, when you are talking about the source of this conflict, we look at, the issues surrounding farmer-herders clashes that started over 2.5 decades ago. If you look at the situation in which farmers and herders clash, normally the pastoralists, not within the country, those who come from outside the country, you see them, overrunning farms and also, not allowing, the farmers, to cultivate, their grains, and they will eat it all. And that is one aspect of this conflict. And when this thing started, then some of the, the local, vigilantes, and also the community leaders at that time, they will now take these plannings, and most of the time, they are being fined heavily, and they feel, terribly bad about what really happened to them. And that is why most of them, in a way of revenging, they will now say, look, we need to take back all these cows. That's how it started. So later on, it metamorphoses to, a kind of, kidnapping, for ransom, and also overrunning villages, taking away the cattle and whatever, those who are not pastoralists have. And that's how, this conflict started. But the problem escalated when now, there is a kind of killing spree, of innocent, pastoralists, those that doesn't even have hand in carrying arms, in killing those kind of people, that, committed, all sorts of crimes, against the farmers. So that is what happened. But you see, the situation, escalated with the kind of fusion between the Boko Haram insurgents and these armed bandits, so to say. And that's why we have the Ansaru in Brunungwari area and part of, Niger State. We have this Ansaru who also now are beginning to become warlords and also issuing directives, to citizens, of what should be done and what needs to be done. So this is exactly what's really happened, and that's the genesis of this conflict. And these people, you see them, because of the influence of drugs and because of the influence of certain things that intoxicate them. So they don't have any feeling, and they are ready, to kill, maim, and do whatever they want to do. Then they don't have any value for human life. This is the general picture of the so-called, conflict or the killings that has been going on, kidnappings and also overrunning towns and villages, mostly in the area that I'm more conversant with, that is Benungwari general area.
So I want to ask if your own reading of the current cause of the insecurity currently experienced in your constituency is the same thing?
It's the same thing. In my constituency, just like I told you, it has become an everyday thing, where every day anybody that knows that axis from Abuja here to Olam in Kaduna State is almost my constituency. Qatari axis is unsafe. Even to me, as a politician now, I cannot go to that axis to say I'm going to campaign. And I'm a member of the APC. We campaigned in 2014 about the security of the nation. And today, I can tell you those that have the solution to this security solution are not being given the privilege to actually implement their solution. For example, the Kaduna State governor lamented of recent of what is happening in Kaduna State to Mr. President. What the president is supposed to do is give him the opportunity to try and see how the solution will be made possible. And if he try, Kaduna is one of the eyebrow of insecurity right now in the country, and he succeed, then we can spread it around the nation. But when you deny someone of the privilege of offering help, and you know you have a problem, how can that problem be solved? Now it's affecting the common man, which we are supposed to protect. It's not affecting me, but it's affecting the common man. And my life is at risk because I travel to Kaduna every day by road. The train station have stopped. And tomorrow it could be you, it could be me, it could be anybody. So it's affecting the constituency in general, not just in general. My constituency is, I think if it is not worse than Birnin-Gwari, then it's almost the same thing with Birnin-Gwari. My counterpart, my colleague in Birnin-Gwari, every day, this is what he laments about the insecurity. I know how much he spent every day in trying to take care of his people on the issue of insecurity. So it's becoming so expensive, it's exhausting, and your people demand so much because the government of the day are doing nothing to actually bring this insecurity to an end, and it's certain.
Pretty heavy words. Let me flip this conversation to Lagos now, gentlemen.
Well, yeah, it does call for a lot of concern, but just so that people may know, we're talking about Kaduna State here that's got the Nigeria Defense Academy, Armed Forces Command and Staff College in Jaji, Nigerian Air Force Base, Air Force Institute of Technology, Ground Training Command, the Army Training Depot in Zaria, Nigeria Military School, Defense Industry Corporation, DICON, Nigerian Army School of Artillery, Nigerian Navy School of Armament Technology, Command Engineering Depot, Command and Staff College, State Security Service Training Academy, Police College, Nigerian College of Aviation Technology. We could go on. That is what we're talking about that is facing the security challenge. We've got another guest all the same. Shehu Abubakar is the candidate of the PDP in the same local government area in question, Birnin-Gwari. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. So go ahead and tell us, Mr. Abubakar, how long has this so-called threat or warning by this terrorist group for people not to campaign, how long has that been on for, and were you able to campaign yourself?
Good morning, viewers. As rightly asked by you, this issue has been going on.
Go ahead. All right, we'll come back to him in a moment. But let me come back to you, Honorable Gabriel Zak. You clearly have indicted your party, saying enough is not being done. But that's hard for a lot of people to process, especially when you keep hearing the directives from the president asking that these kind of things should be addressed headlong. You hear the security agencies say they're doing their best. So from what you've just said now, it appears as though all of that is just talk. They're not matching it with action. Is that what you're saying?
I can tell you categorically they are not doing enough. The president is the chief commander of the armed forces. And I believe you are a leader even in your own house. And if you give your own security in the house and order that don't allow anybody to come into the house, and you come back home and you see people in the house, are you going to blame the people or the security in the house? And what action will you take when your own security allow people to come into the house? I believe he will either be relieved of his duty or he will have a consequence to face. So you telling me that the president have given an order that the security agency should find an end to this solution. It has lingered for 7 years. And any solution, any problem that has lingered for more than, the government can fish out anybody at any time they want to. I believe they are not doing anything to fish out these bandits. They are all Nigerian and they don't live outside Nigeria. And if we have the names and we have where before you register your SIM, before you get your SIM connected, you have to register it by the network provider. These people make phone calls and they have informers everywhere. If the security agency, they can use the intelligence report and intelligent gathering information, I believe this problem will not last up to 6 months. Nigeria is too small. Nigeria is too small to have this kind of problem linger for so long. I believe the president have not backed up his word with action.
But that's, again, as Marco said, strong words there. But let me quickly ask Mr. Abdurrauf, the community leader. You know, I can't imagine what the people themselves are going through now in the community that's been experiencing this over time, almost intractable. Can you give us an inkling into how the people in your community are taking all of these? What's their impression of what is happening, their impression of government's response, whether at the federal level or at the state level? Are they in any way comforted by the activities of government? Are they hopeful that government is doing anything for them? Give us an idea of what's going on in the minds of the people right now.
Well, certainly the people are not happy. The people in Birnawara are not happy because of the neglect from the government. It might be a take cue from what the Honorable has said. It is not, a blame game here, but it's not the president alone. In every, state, the state governor is the chief security officer of that particular place. And the local government chairman is the chief security officer of that particular local government. So if the president, is doing his own at the federal level, what has the state government done, to see this situation is being curtailed? So you see, when last did the governor or government official visited Benungwari to commensurate with people just like what they have done in Kajuru and other areas of the state? Even the statement that they usually issued whenever something happened, we in Benungwari doesn't enjoy that kind of, sympathy from the government. So that's why the people are aggrieved. The people are not happy because we are living in a situation that, that people can no longer, walk or even travel 1 kilometer from Benungwari town to other areas. And the same thing in all the, districts that we have in Benungwari, that mostly people cannot leave the headquarters of their district to other places. In essence, most of the areas in Benungwari, they have been overrun by these criminals, and most of them, they are now stationed in the district heads, in the headquarters of this district, and that is where that they can be safe. And the situation now, if I'm not saying that something will not be done, but if something is not done, we are going to have, a food crisis. Birnungwari, that we have at least 700,000 metric tons, of assorted grains, but now people cannot access their farm. There are many cases since the beginning of this rainy season that people have been abducted on their way to the farms, and even the cattle that they use for animal traction have been taken away by this bandit. The Ansaru now has issued a statement that nobody should go into politics or even campaigning. So therefore, in this situation, what do you expect people to do? And the government is not coming, to the aid of these people. So therefore, what we are saying is, it is a responsibility of the government, just like what it was enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 16. The primary responsibility of government is to protect life and property. So if government cannot protect life and property, I can see that people will become agitated and to see the best way or the best option for them, since government cannot cater for them, the best option for them is to see how they can defend themselves. And that's why, I align myself. My people align them with the statement and also the action taken by the Zamfara governor, although there are a kind of, talk about whether it's constitutional or not constitutional, but I think we need to adopt, a kind of a doctrine of necessity, just like what we have during the Eradua, in which the National Assembly adopted, a doctrine of necessity so that to fill the vacuum. So we need to have a kind
just
of
before
doctrine
you go
of
off
necessity
to
Mr.
Take Rauf,
the issue of
just one
insecurity
moment
seriously.
on that matter, just before you go off of it. Has it gotten that bad that you think it is time for people in the community to begin to defend themselves? Have the people become so helpless, or government unable to take care of the matter, that now you would advocate that people should begin to defend themselves?
Sure. People, we have reached the point of no return. People are being pushed to the wall that no longer, because nobody will go, to these communities, the extreme, communities where people are being overrun every day. Let me give you an example. Just yesterday, Birnongwari, Randegi is one of the areas in which these bandits, have their roots through Zamfara, Zamfara State to Niger State, where they cross over. Yesterday, the people of Randegi were braved to confront these, bandits who tried to overrun Randegi, a community, a farming community, that pay over 200 million naira to the bandit before they harvest their farm. And they succeeded in dislodging this bandit. So I think, our people are now, ready. If the government cannot take its own constitutional responsibility,
there are many questions.
Our people are ready.
My sincere apologies. There are many questions, concerning some of the things that you are raising now. For instance, how did this 200,000 naira that you said, how did it get across? 200 million naira, gosh, get paid to these bandits. How did that happen? And then which is the closest military or security formation to these communities that's so helpless as to not be able to help, the people and forestall some of these insecurity issues? And of course, you have also indicted the Kaduna State largely, both of you would seem. But we touch on this and a number of other issues when we return from this break. Please stay with us.
To ensure that it will no longer be business as usual for bandits terrorizing motorists and villagers along that route.
Thanks for staying with us. Well, Mr. Rauf, just to be clear, did you say 200,000 naira or 200 million naira was paid by farmers to bandits?
Yes, 200 million naira was paid to bandits in Randegi district alone. When you talk of Birnongwari local government as a whole, is the range between 300 to 400 million paid to this bandit. There are 3 stages of paying this kind of, taxes by this bandit. You have to pay pre-season. At the middle, when the crops are about, to start yielding, you paid also to this bandit because they will not allow you access to your farm. Then at the end of, the season, when you are harvesting, you will give this bandit, they will tell you so amount to pay before you access your farm. And when you access your farm, after paying these taxes, they will now tell you, apart from giving them money, you give a ratio of 2 bags to 10 bags of all the assorted grains. This is what this bandit have been doing in Benongwari area. For the past 3 years, this is what Benongwari people has been, enduring. And it's reached a stage that, we are in a stage of hopelessness and prostration. And, when people are prostrated, then they will now look at the best option for them to defend themselves. If the government cannot protect them, just like what, was enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right, let's bring in Shehu Abubakar, who is the State Assembly candidate for the PDP. He also represents Burning Gwari. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program. So tell us, I did ask you, this so-called directive for these bandits concerning embargo, political activities, how long has this been going on for? And were you able to campaign yourself for the elections?
Well, it has been a bit difficult for us when it comes to the issue of campaigning. In fact, even to reach to Burning Gwari from Kaduna, for you to go to Burning Gwari, it's a kind of a difficult thing because the roads has been hijacked by the bandits, not even Ansaru. Ansaru were located or situated at the eastern part of Burning Gwari, and their activities have been going on there for over 10 years. It was just within this year that they have started bringing out their mission. Because all this while, all those years before, they've been living peacefully with the people there. In fact, they have been even defending the community from the attack of these bandits. If you go to the community that is Damari, that is under Kazage ward, where they are situated, a town called Damari, the people prefer even to stay with them before because they have not bring anything to them. They've just been protecting them from the attack of bandits. The bandits are even afraid of the Ansaru people. Because if you see them, it's very terrible.
Well, what is the name of this group of bandits?
Hello?
What is the name of this group of bandits?
Well, the bandits are different from the Ansaru. The Ansaru group are different from bandits. The bandits are a group of those headsmen now. Those we are called bandits. While Ansaru, we don't know from where they came. They just came and stayed in that bush of Burning Gwari. Before they were staying in the bush, it was later, after some years, they started coming into the town, that is Damari town, where now they have even almost taken over the town because there is no even presence of police in the town. But before there is even a police outpost in that town, Damari. But now there's nobody. They are controlling the whole area. I was there, as I was saying last year. A friend of mine was shot, was gunned down by the bandits. So we went for a condolence visit. At the outskirts of the town, to my surprise, I now saw people in camouflage uniform, military uniform with boots and sophisticated weapons. So when we reached the place of when we reached the house, I now asked them, I said, so you have gotten a military intervention immediately? They said they are not military. I said, who are they? They said they are Ansaru. Dressed in military. They said, yes, that is how they are. They have taken over the town completely. You will see everywhere. I saw over 150 number of them in that town that day. And they said every Friday, they normally come and do Jumat prayers inside that town. Wow. So they do their activities freely. And the recent local government election, the recent concluded local government election, I happen to be the DG campaign of PDP. And at the same time, PDP sent me to the eastern part as their supervisor. On reaching Dogondawa, we were won by both the APC and PDP agents that the Ansaru have won them. Never anybody from that area should not go and vote or should not even participate in the political activities. Likewise, we, all the SECOM staff that are there to conduct the election, if they daily enter there, whatever happens to them, they are on their own. Okay, so we'll not be able to enter Damari. We now just go to the straight to the border of Dogonda and Damari. There is a secondary school there where we install all the machines, and the agents start calling their political, party members. There, if anybody that is interested, vote, let him come there and vote.
Okay,
so
but
I can tell you, very insignificant number of people
Mr.
come and vote in that ward.
When you saw these men, this terrorist group, clad in military fatigue, were you able to report it to the army? Because any unsuspecting Nigerian will take them to be Nigerian army. Did you report the matter?
The proximity between Damari and Dogonda is very close, and there are presence of military in Dogonda. Their activities is not hidden. Everybody knows. You don't have to report to anybody. Everybody knows about them.
Are you saying, Mr. Abubakar, just 1 second, are you saying that the military is aware?
Well, I'm not saying that, but all I'm saying, their activities is very well known by everybody. They are not hiding. You now, if you like, come to Kaduna, go there, you see them. They are not hiding. They are not into hiding.
But you know
so
that
the
Chief of Defense Staff had said that no one is authorized to wear military camouflage, without being a military person.
That is what they are wearing.
Well, I'm asking you if you think or you believe for a fact that this information you are giving us right now is known to the military authorities themselves, if everyone knows it.
Well, I don't know, because I did not report any because I just went there on condolence and I saw them and they told me that is where they lived and they are always there. So as far as I'm concerned, why should I start reporting anything?
So
the people there are not even worried about it. Why should I to report what? Report to who?
But have you ever since then been able to find out what their mission is?
Well, we don't know what their mission is until now, that they have started bringing out one after the other. We've heard that they ban Western education, and they are now saying the people around there should not participate in politics. So, it is now they have started bringing out their mission. Because, as I've told you earlier, before they were living peacefully with the people, because they are even protecting the people from the attack of the bandits.
The Ansaru are protecting the people from attack of terrorists, from bandits?
Exactly, those terrorist groups. That's what the people told us there.
But who are these terrorists? Were you able to identify who they are and what their mission is?
Well, these bandits, as you have said earlier, they are bandits. They have been named bandits. So they are there. They are living with our people. Let me just give you as an example. In my ward, in my own constituency, I have 3 wards. The ward that is in the outskirts of the town, that is Ward 3. If you go to, there is a town called Farurua, Gobirawa, Ngwanachibi, and Saulawa. If you go there now, that road that is linking from Benungari to Funtua, the bandits have now agreed and opened the road. They have negotiated with the people there. They have agreed, they have accepted now, they have opened the road. Now people pass through that road freely, and they are even patrolling on that road. If you are going through that road, you will see them on their motorbike with their weapons. They are the ones that are even patrolling the road because they have dialogue with the people around that road, linking Funtua to Bernungari. Those towns I have mentioned to you, reaching those towns, you will see those bandits in number. It's just that they are not passing the night in those villages.
What do they wear?
What they told them. They normally go there and stay from morning till evening. You see them with their guns, everything.
What do they wear?
Normally they are normal dresses. Normal dresses.
What kind of guns do they use?
AK-47. That is the guns they are holding.
Well, Mr. Abubakar, one of the issues that have been raised, I mean, this issue of the Ansaru protecting communities from bandits and terrorists has been on for a little while. And it would seem like the people felt safe with the Ansaru at the time.
Before.
But
Not
now,
until now they have started
yes,
bringing out
but now, How, and because, I mean, it's part of the risks that people had said, exist, that, look, if this continues, these people would eventually do what you say that they're doing now.
Yeah.
So how, in your opinion, are people receiving the protection, quote-unquote protection, of these people now? What are the people saying? Do they still want them to continue, or they want the security agencies to come to their aid?
No, as I have said, as they have started bringing out their mission, people are beginning to worry. Before, people thought they are there for good. But now people are started to worry. For you to tell people not to participate or to partake in political activities, you have denied them their constitutional right. For you to say people should not allow their children to go and get Western, you have denied them from their constitutional right. So people have started becoming more disturbed day in, day out in that area.
Mr. Abubakar, we need to wind down with you. So tell us, what do you see happening, especially now that we're approaching the general elections? There will be campaign. They're supposed to participate and vote during the 2023 elections. What do you see happening in that area?
Well, we're appealing on government to do more. Despite we know the government are trying, but let them do more, please. So that we'll be able, Pelungari local government should be able, our people should be able to be allowed, to participate or to participate in the coming election.
All right, we do thank you very much indeed for talking to us this morning. Shehu Abubakar is the PDP House of Reps candidate for Benin Gwari. He joined us virtually from Kaduna. Well, Honorable Zadok, looking at how some of these things are playing out, we do remember some time ago we did ask you some of these questions. Your view was different at the time. You thought that the authorities were doing their best. What changed for you?
Well, like I will tell you, the authority are not doing their best at this time. You see, when you keep on giving excuses on, I'm trying, without a solution, then it's no longer, I'm trying, you get exhausted. This has happened, and it has affected even directly to each and every one of us in the constituency. And the question is, the people believe in us because we are the representative of the people. I'm a House of Representative member, and I represent my people. If this can happen to my own family, and also if this can happen to my friend, one of my friends paid me a courtesy visit just a day after his younger brother was shot. And I was, how did they pass the military? We have a military base in Kachia local government. And they went into Kachia town, shooting people and killing people without asking for anything. You get so worried. Just like how I told you the other time when I came to the channels, and the president need to look inward and go back to the drawing board. He doesn't have time. And whatever he do now is a legacy that is going to live for Nigeria. If he is able to secure this country, this is what got Jonathan out of government. The PDP had a lot of insecurity problem, and we used that opportunity to campaign and said we were going to secure Nigeria. And 7 years down the line, we have not secured Nigeria. I don't know what they are telling the president, because every time he come on, he will say he's doing Nigeria, he has made Nigeria better than it was
Just
before.
one more thing from here.
And every day we are...
Okay, pardon me. Just one more thing, because we're out of time and we need to wrap up. Is it true that you are facing a corruption case because haven't defrauded your friend who you were supposed to get a right of occupancy for in Abuja to the tune of 185 million naira?
How am I facing a corruption case?
It's all over the papers. It's being reported online.
TV. You are not proven guilty. You are not guilty until you are proven guilty.
But is the case true? Are you in court for that?
You can invite me.
Are you in court for that?
Of course, yeah, of course. Of course, yes.
Okay. Since it's in court, well, Mark, go ahead.
Well, Jimilim, just to let you know, while that conversation was going on with Honorable Sheho behind the, Honorable to be, if God wills, behind this is, well, via Zoom, it was not behind the scenes, it was behind the scenes for us here. There was a lot of agreement from Mr. Abdurrauf, who was talking about how he could corroborate the fact that Ansaru, Ansaru have taken over many parts of the place where they currently are at, and it would seem that. Well, I think I'll leave you to say what it is that you are trying to say behind the scenes.
Well, you see, what Honorable Shehu Abubakar has said about Ansaru,
yes,
I think, is beyond, what, people think about. Ansaru, they have asserted themselves, their authority themselves. And, traveling between Birnungwari to Funtua, which I did about 2 weeks ago, I noticed something that these Ansaru, they are not in their normal, cloth, but they are wearing military fatigue. And most of them, if you are going, and I saw a man that his vehicle was broken down, and this Ansaru, they are the one who jack up the car, remove the tire, take it to the near village, and fix the tire and return. When I reached Kuyelo, which is not far from where the incident happened, I asked the driver what happened. He said, well, after they took the tire to vulcanizer, and they even gave them water to drink before they moved, and they say bye-bye. So you see, people feel...
How do you know they're Ansaru? I mean, if you said that they're wearing military fatigue, how do you know that they're Ansaru?
They are.
And not military men?
Because the people there know them. Because the base, the military base or the security base in that area is along that Gwaska area, which is between part of Birnungwari and part of Zampara, that is Ansado area. No any police outpost there, no any military presence, no any police or any other security in that area. The people there, they will tell you, we are Ansaru. Even if they put the military fatigue, you will see them with a kind of, symbol, just like a turban. And they wear it to show that they are really, Ansaru. And you will not see them with boots, just like the more normal military boots. And, why people are, before they know the mission of this Ansaru, they became, protected. They became comfortable with these people because they don't know their mission. They thought they are there to assist them. And that's why, they give them protection and they chase out these bandits from this area. Until recently, when they started, issuing out, a kind of directives to people that you should not go to school, you should not participate in politics, and so also, the people now, they said they are cajoling people. The youth in that area are being cajoled into this Ansaru, and they entered the bush.
Honorable, sorry to interrupt you, Honorable, because we're totally out of time. Honorable, quickly, you were talking about solutions. You said that the governor had come up with a solution he has not been allowed to implement.
Yeah.
What is the solution which he came up with?
You see, the last time this happened, especially when the train issue happened, the governor met the president. And he asked him to give him permission to bring in the foreign surveillance and equipment to actually see how he can, because he has drone everywhere. He knows where this, he has gotten information or where all these camps are. And if he talks to Army, Nigerian Army, he has approached them several times without without solution. So let me also try another means. And the president, in his answer, did not give him the go-ahead because the president is actually the chief commander. The councillor or the district head or the local government chairman cannot take a decision without the governor. And the governor he does not have the total right to actually take a decision in the state because he will still fall back to the chief of army staff, the commissioner of police.
Well, what I can say is that this is an ongoing conversation with very little time to discuss it. There's still is on security, and maybe now that they're issuing directives to the people and a political process is threatened, maybe now politicians will pay a little more attention and see how it is that they can solve the problem of security in the areas around Kajuru and Beningwari as well. But we have to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on Sunrise City this morning. Zubair Abdurraouf is the community leader, Beningwari in Kaduna State, as the former managing director, CEO of Kaduna State Media Corporation, KSMC. And Honorable Gabriel Saleh Zok is representing Kachia Kagargo Federal Constituency in Kaduna State and is a member of the All Progressives Congress. Gentlemen, thank you once again.
You're welcome.
Well, I do not know if we'll be able to take your feedback because time is already far spent, but thank you so much for watching this morning. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Do have a wonderful day.
I'm Train Bellinassar. Goodbye.